Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on automating the processes of your inbound customer purchase orders with UnForm. And I just wanted to take a minute to kick today off. My name is Christy Mitchum, and presenting today is Vicki Iander. And just before we get started, I wanted to let everybody know that we will be recording today's presentation, and a link will be sent out to the recording to everyone who registered. And we are going to be saving time at the end of the presentation portion of today for questions. So please go ahead and drop any of those into the Q&A option of the webinar or the chat bubble, and we'll address those at the end of the presentation. And with that, I will turn it over, Vicki, to you.
Thank you, Christy. Can you see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes, and yes.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate that. Hi, everybody. This is Vicki Iander with SDSI, and I will be walking you through the UnForm sales order automation process. Today, we will be looking at how the inbound customer orders are received. Okay. All right. Get the little, there we go. All right. So one of the ways we automatically capture customer purchase orders is by using the UnForm application. And what we're doing is we're capturing documents and data. We're capturing them by monitoring inbound sources, and inbound sources can be an email address, a directory, scan to, or drag and drop. So exactly how do we capture the data? Well, we're utilizing a variety of technologies, including a PDF text layer. Now, if you have a PDF text layer in your document, that does not have to run through the OCR, the optical character recognition. It'll process right away, and it will automatically go straight to the ERP. But for those documents that don't have the text layer, we do have the OCR capability. We also are using barcode recognition, data lookup from your ERP or business application, and data validations. Okay, so let's jump into the demonstration. I'm going to pause my screen here for just a second so you don't see me doing all the moving around of the screen. Okay, all right, there we go, resume share. Today, I'm going to be using one of our ERPs as a demo, and we are ERP agnostic, but for today's demo, we're using Acumatica. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the sales order page, and I'm kind of starting at the end, and that is I'm showing you that we've had a couple of sales orders already generated, 6500 and 6501, and as we go through the process of showing you the demo, we will have two new sales orders that will be populated. So I wanted to give you a starting point. Okay. Let's real quickly refresh about the UnForm server page, or just the UnForm application in general, and that is it is username and password protected. So if you have employees that are only allowed to see the archiving, for instance, they can click on all these other modules and nothing will happen. They are only allowed to open what they are entitled to see. Okay, so that was just a quick refresher. Now let's jump over to Image Manager. All right. Let me send a couple of documents. Here we go. I'm going to send an email that has two documents attached to it. They're both customer POs. One is AgriLink and one is Alta. And I'm sending it to an inbound source that's inbound plus CusPO. That's the email address that I'm sending it to. But UnForm will monitor multiple inbound sources, and by using aliases like AR, AP, HR, whatever it is you might be using is perfectly fine. So I'm going to go ahead and send that off. And while it's sending, there we go. Also let you know that UnForm can monitor multiple inbound sources and like physical directories or on a network share, a multifunction device, or a scanning capability to a directory. So there are other ways that you can get the documents in to Image Manager. Okay, so those two purchase orders have been sent via email, and this left-hand window is showing you all the inbound sources. And we have a lot of inbound sources because we do demonstrations, but today we'll be using the customer PO inbound customer orders source. Let's see if it's come through. There it is. All right, so you're looking at the image manager queue here, and you're probably saying, hey, now wait a minute, Vicki sent two documents via email to Image Manager. Why am I only seeing one? Well, the reason you're only seeing one is the other document had the auto transfer on, and the auto transfer will automatically process the document and send it directly to the ERP. So it's already being processed. It's generated a new sales order number, and the document and the new sales order number have been archived within UnForm. So now we have the AgriLink document here in the UnForm queue, excuse me, in the Image Manager queue. And you'll notice that there's a check mark under Ready. Well, what that means is that this document has actually passed all the detection requirements and can be transferred to the ERP and into UnForm. But I turned it off specifically so that we can see how the process works. So I'm going to open up the document. There we go. And as you see, it's opening. The left-hand side column is where we have the fields, and that's the data that we're collecting off of the document set up in the fields. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the document has blue boxes around words. Well, this is data that we're capturing using the OCR. And keep in mind now, if you have a PDF with a text layer, it won't even go through the OCR process. It will just automatically go to the ERP, generate the sales order, and continue on its way. So here we have the purchase order that we're doing manually. And the really nice thing about Image Manager, well, one of many, is that we do capture the line item detail. We have a really cool tool over here on the left-hand side where it says lines. It's a grid. And what this is going to do is it'll show you all the line item detail that Image Manager is capturing, and it will automatically be sent to your ERP. So that's one of the really nice features. Another really nice feature is that Image Manager can do math calculations. So if you have lots of line item detail with unit prices that are extended, you'll have a subtotal, possibly tax, and a total down at the bottom. Image Manager will double check it. So let's intentionally throw the number off so you can see what will happen. And by the way, this is going to show you what happens whenever there's an error or something didn't pass detection. When you're in this view, you'll have a red box identifying where the information needs to be corrected or maybe something's missing. So this will allow you the opportunity to do that. But what's really kind of cool is if you hover over the highlighted box, it will tell you what the problem is. And it's saying, uh-oh, let's see, lines total $34,320 isn't matching the subtotal. It's showing that there's 50 cents. So we can go in here and manually correct it. But before we do, what I'd like to show you is I want to go back to the Image Manager queue. And now you see the document that we had in there originally that had the ready check is gone. So if you're coming into the Image Manager queue with fresh eyes, because it's your job to monitor it, the only items that you should see here are documents that have the auto transfer turned off, or there is a need for you to correct something. So then you would go into it and correct it. So let's take a look at something else while we're in this view. We've talked about how inbound documents are being read using OCR or the PDF text layer, but we also use zones. So let me open up the zone here so we can talk to that. Part of the Image Manager's job is it's doing actions. It has actions that it needs to do. And what it's doing is it's looking at the individual jobs to make sure that we're picking up the right job to process. And how does it do that? Well, there are unique identifiers in the document that we're picking up, and that tells the image manager, yes, this is the job that we need to process. So it'll continue to work through all the different jobs until it finds the exact match. So let's take a look at the zones over here on the right-hand side. You'll see there are some light red boxes. If I click inside the box or the zone, it's going to turn dark red, and this is highlighting the area that we're capturing the data off of. If you look over here on the left-hand side, we have line item as far as detect zone, customer PO, name, etc. And down here at the bottom, it's showing the information that's in that zone. But over here on the right-hand side where it says zone text, this is actually the data that we're capturing. So you can click on a box to take a look at what's in it, or a zone to see what's in it. You can also click on the lines over here, and you'll see it'll highlight the areas that we're looking at. So it's capturing just what information is identified within the zone. Also, this is a good point to mention that you do need to set up a template for each job or each customer. So it's, set up the zones. You have these boxes that you can move and resize. So you'll have a template, for instance, and you just save it with the name of the new customer that you want to set up. Move the boxes around, resize them how you want, save it, and then you have your new template. And the same can be said as if you have a template set up for a customer and maybe they may change it. It's very easy to go in, make the changes by moving the zones around and saving it. So that's a little bit about zones and how to set up a template or to move zones around. So let's go back to our AgriLink document, and let's go in and correct the math error. All right, so let's go ahead and correct it. And by the way, part of the benefits of using the UnForm Image Manager is that we are doing validations that your ERP probably can't do. So this is another level of validations for you. So all this is being compared to the documents that are in the ERP and that we're receiving. So this has been updated. So we have the correct dollar amount with the correct cents. I'll show you now how we'll transfer this. So we're transferring this manually, unlike the Alta order that went over with the auto transfer. So you can have as many documents in the Image Manager queue that you need to transfer at once. You don't have to do one by one. You can do a whole selection or a batch. So let's go ahead and we'll transfer this over to the ERP. So what this is doing is it's sending the data that we've collected over to the ERP, and the ERP is going to generate a sales order. And this window will show if the transaction occurred successfully, and it did. And it's also sent back the new sales order number. So now this document has not only been generated, has generated a sales order in the ERP, but it's now also archived in UnForm. So let's go take a look at the ERP. I'm going to refresh it. And we should see the two documents that were sent, the one that had the automatic transfer and the one we did manually. And there's the Alta document. That's the one that came over in the email and had the auto transfer on. And this is the one that we just manually uploaded. So let's take a look at that. And as the window for the ERP opens, we'll see here down at the bottom, it has captured the line item detail successfully. It has generated the sales order number right there. And what's another nice feature about UnForm is that we do have integration with many ERPs. And in this case, we have this UnForm button right here on their web page. When I click on it, it will open up that document within UnForm, and now you have access to all the features and functions that you normally have within UnForm. You can open the document and email it if you want to, or share it or not, but that's how you open up the document within the ERP. I do want to go back and show you the other document that was sent that had the auto transfer on, and this one was set up so that it had an attachment to it. So this little highlighted paperclip area, that indicates that there's something attached to this document. So let's open that up, and you'll see up here where we have the various tabs, it says files, and this says that there's one file attached. So this particular document could have one, could have many, but it shows exactly what's here as far as there's an opportunity to open the document and take a look at it. So those have both been successfully sent to the ERP, and sales orders have been generated. Okay. So we've talked about how to get documents in using inbound sources, but there are times when you may have an email that has arrived in your inbox and you want to send it on over, or maybe you have something on your desktop or in a directory that you want to share, and you can do that, and I can show you how to do that manually. But you can also transfer data by writing an EDI file or XML, and some ERPs already have templates, and of course we're more than happy to do any custom programming for you should you need it. So let's upload a document manually. I happen to have one on my desktop. Oh, what a coincidence, right? So I just dragged it and I dropped it. All I have to do now is import, and it will arrive in the image manager queue in just a couple of seconds. Let's give it a chance to speed on over here. There it is. So there's the document that I had on my desktop. It's ready to go, and we can go through the manual process like we did just a few minutes ago. So those are the ways to get documents into UnForm via inbound sources. If you have any questions, we can certainly go ahead and get to that point now. So that concludes the actual demonstration point. So let's do questions.
Great, thank you, Vicki. I want to go ahead and dive into a couple that we had on the screen. Blurriness being a little blurry. We were having a little bit of trouble with the connection that was causing some blurriness there, but we will address getting that cleaned up on the recording. So we'll make sure we get a crisp one out to you guys that were registered for the recording, so we can play that back. And another question that's come up is related to SXE and CSD, and it is how does it work with SXE and CSD? So Paul, I don't know if that's one that maybe you want to take.
Sure. So the front end piece that Vicki showed it's the same regardless of what ERP you're using. So all that's the same. What changes is the format of the data that's output when the jobs are finished. So with SXE and CSD, instead of putting CSV file, you'd output either the EDI850i.dat file if you're on-prem, or if you're in the cloud, the order bod. So that's really the only difference, is the formatting of the the transaction that the image manager outputs for the ERP to ingest.
Great, thanks, Paul. And if anybody has any other questions, I'm not seeing additional ones come in at the moment, but please do feel free to drop them in either the question and answer bank or the chat bubble. And we also have the option to raise your hand and we can unmute you if you have any follow-up questions. Maybe we'll give that a minute, see what comes through. Okay. So we've got the contact information up, and it looks like those are the questions that we've had come in so far. So we'll leave this contact info up on the screen, and if you guys think of any questions after we close here today, please reach out to us. We're happy to schedule some follow-up time to discuss any questions either with your ERP or the specific business process, and schedule some one-on-one time. So thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join us, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar.